The Revenue Cycle Toolkit was designed to help our colleagues better understand our revenue cycle, the importance of the role they play in it, and to help achieve profitable growth. Each step is important because many stakeholders rely on the information to make financial and business decisions for Mercer. Consultants and, in some countries, relationship managers are responsible for ensuring the steps in each stage are completed. This video walks through each stage of the revenue cycle. Stage 1. Identify opportunity. Evaluate the client and the opportunity. Be sure to enter the opportunity in Mercer Force and move it through the funnel. Incomplete or inaccurate pipeline data leads to bad business decisions and inaccurate forecasting.
Two consultants in Latin America have heard that their country's CEO is concerned about the weak pipeline in their office and the effect it will have on the P&L. Suddenly, each of them realizes that they have opportunities in Mercer Force shown in the Identify stage, but they're actually in the Finalist stage. Each of them confesses that they have not been disciplined about updating their opportunities as they move through the pipeline. Neither thought their books were big enough to matter. Remember, effective use of Mercer Force allows anyone in the business to monitor pipeline health. Consultants can better focus their time, and leaders can appropriately distribute workloads.
In this stage, every opportunity matters and should be recorded in Mercer Force. Think about whether this is a client we want to work with based on research and past experience. Move every opportunity through the funnel as you progress with the client. Pause the video now to reflect on this stage of the revenue cycle. Stage 2. Scope, cost, price. Assess the project's risk. Build specific scope of work with the client to avoid cost overruns and misset expectations. Use Scope It to determine cost by selecting the team members needed to complete the project. After entering the price into Scope It, review the margins for profitability. Before presenting pricing to the client, compare the estimated profitability against the profitability of similar projects in Webcast or the client revenue and profitability reporting in MicroStrategy, formerly GCP, to be certain it makes sense to proceed from a business standpoint. Remember that legal must review any non-standard contracts.
Jessica, a consultant in Canada, was excited to learn she had won a project for a client she had long been pursuing. In her rush to get the contract signed, she didn't take the time to enter the project in Scope It, because she knew we had done similar work at a similar price for other clients. After the deal was signed, she went back to enter the details in Scope It, only to find that the margin was red because it fell below the margin benchmark. She reviewed this with her manager and discovered that the earlier similar projects had also been unprofitable. Jessica learned the hard way to use Scope It, or MicroStrategy, to check profitability on similar projects before agreeing on price with the client.
Remember, be specific about what is considered in scope and what is out of scope. Identify conditions that have changed from previous projects. Use Scope It or MicroStrategy to determine cost and appropriate price. Enter a valid capacity estimate into Scope It to yield a more accurate measure of project profitability. Pause the video now to reflect on this stage of the revenue cycle. Stage 3. Contract. Complete an engagement letter, if one does not already apply, and a statement of work. Ensure the payment terms are clear and will help Mercer achieve days revenue outstanding targets. Also, include immediate pay options when possible. Update and close the opportunity in Mercer Force. Use Mercer Force to start the process of requesting the appropriate project code in Webcast. Ensure the Webcast record accurately reflects the information from the contract. These are critical steps to revenue recognition. Finally, communicate the project codes and budget to all members of the delivery team.
Jack, a consultant in the UK, needed to start delivering on a contract before final signatures had been received in order to keep the client happy. He has a code set up using a project initiation form, or PIF. After a few weeks of work, the final signatures were still not in, and the PIF was set to expire. Jack had to call the client to investigate. They promised it would come soon, so Jack got a 30-day extension on the PIF, which authorized him to continue working while waiting for the signed contract. The contract arrived as promised, and the client was pleased with the project and the fact that it was delivered on time.
Remember, setting up the correct project code based on the type of work is critical. PIFs expire after 30 days, but can be extended for another 30 days. If a signed statement of work isn't received by that time, project work should stop. Ensure all members of the delivery team have the correct billing code and budget. Pause the video now to reflect on this stage of the revenue cycle. Stage 4. Deliver. Communication with the team is critical. Confirm budget, timeline, deliverables, roles, and responsibilities. Throughout delivery, carefully track time entry. Identify and flag out-of-scope work, and identify additional opportunities with the client. All are key to our P&L.
Camille is a project manager in France. The delivery team is midway through a project when she gets a call from the client asking for additional work. After reviewing the original project scope, Camille decides this additional work would be out of scope. She wants to keep the client happy, so she is considering not charging for the extra work. Camille's colleague, Pierre, tells her that not charging for this additional work would make the project unprofitable, and that it's only fair to charge for out-of-scope work. After all, he adds, "We didn't agree to work for free."
Remember to review time entry for accuracy and timeliness. Identify out-of-scope work and get the client to pay for it. Identify causes of unplanned write-offs. Take advantage of available capacity across teams. Identify other products and solutions where Mercer can offer support. Pause the video now to reflect on this stage of the revenue cycle. Stage 5. Bill. Review work in progress and bill the client. Remember, timely invoicing helps Mercer collect revenue faster and minimizes unbilled work in progress. Identify and record out-of-scope work and review with the client to get paid. For commission-based clients, ensure each of the client's policies are set up in webcasts, required paperwork is filed with the carrier, and that the client pays the carrier on time so they can pay us on time. For fixed-fee clients, ensure the SFF work is included on the invoice. It cannot be written off. For most products we sell, revenue is shared between the selling and producing countries. Product-based revenue is recognized when the product is released as opposed to when it is sold. Unbilled WIP impacts many areas of the business. Future revenues are reduced due to higher write-offs, and there's less financial flexibility for investments like new technology or acquisitions for inorganic growth.
Joe's manager wants to meet with him about work in progress, which is unbilled time and expense. His manager tells Joe that his project has the largest unbilled WIP in the office. Joe explains that the client only wants to be invoiced after 2 big milestones are complete. Joe's manager reminds him that ideally contracts should allow for consistent periodic billing, rather than waiting until a milestone has been reached, because it is the region's goal to decrease unbilled WIP, so it is minimal compared to total WIP.
Remember to invoice the client monthly or per the contract. Address potential write-ups by ensuring the value added to the client is reflected appropriately. Address potential write-offs. Pause the video now to reflect on this stage of the revenue cycle. Stage 6. Collect. Help Mercer collect our accounts receivable by following best practices to ensure clients are paying timely and accurately. Payment is an integral part of the client relationship, which is owned by the consultant or relationship manager. If an invoice is overdue, work with local finance and the client for payment. You put so much effort into winning and delivering the work. Now it's time to be paid.
Ben, a consultant in Singapore, and his team just finished a large project and sent the final invoice to the client before starting on a new project for another client. A short time later, he is copied on an email indicating that Mercer has still not been paid for the large project. Ben does not reply because he thinks accounts receivable is the responsibility of finance. Shortly thereafter, his country leader explains that it is the consultant's responsibility to ensure timely collection of payments from clients. Finance may help, but consultants own the client relationship and are the front line for timely collections.
Remember to follow collection protocols. Institute a remediation plan for overdue unpaid invoices. Pause the video now to reflect on this stage of the revenue cycle. After the revenue cycle is complete, use MicroStrategy to analyze the project and client profitability. It's important to review projects to learn what went well and what can be improved upon. Also, be sure to follow established policies and procedures regarding revenue recognition. The result of successfully completing the revenue cycle is an increase in profitable revenue, which benefits us all.